What is up, guys? Big Cheese here with another Gears of War video for you. Weekend 2 of the Gears Reloaded beta is upon us, and we are going to be playing all weekend, but I just wanted to drop this video on some key things that I think the devs could do to improve on the multiplayer experience moving forward. If you like the video, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Let's get straight into it. So starting off with the do list, let's go through it here one by one. So 5 things I think that they need to do to add to the multiplayer, to keep it going, to keep improving on it, and just make it the experience we all know and love, you know, from Gears multiplayer. Is the first one is add executions. Executions and the way executions evolved through the Gears of War franchise were absolutely awesome. You know, by the time Gears of War 5 came, we were like Batista bombing people and like power bombing and choke slamming and all this stuff. The executions are absolutely awesome, and I don't think anyone's got any complaints about executions and different types of executions depending on which weapon you're holding, different types of executions depending on which one you've got set on your character. I don't think anybody would disagree that executions are an awesome part of Gears, and they're just fun, right? They're fun to like look across the street in gridlock and see your buddy Batista bombing a guy onto the ground and their head popping off. It's just awesome, right? Executions in Gears of War moving forward have to be a thing. The next mechanic I wanted to talk about was the meat shield. The meat shield made for some of the best plays and clutch scenarios that we've ever seen in Gears. I think the meat shield is an absolute must in multiplayer. When you're outnumbered, being able to pick up the first or second guy you've downed and like shield the bullets just to get a little bit of health back, you know, maybe back off a little bit, just to improve your chances of surviving that like 3v1, 4v1, 5v1. I think the meat shield mechanic was added in, I don't know, Gears 3, maybe, correct me guys, it might be in Gears 2. But the meat shield mechanic is awesome. And remember, you could like strap a frag to the meat shield as well. If you had frags, you had the meat shield, you could like strap a frag to his back and kick him at his teammates to blow them up. Absolutely awesome, and it unlocks so much potential for really awesome plays and really awesome moments. So I think the meat shield is definitely a mechanic we need to add into the multiplayer here. Next, I want to talk about some weapons that I think they should add into the multiplayer. In the don't section, we're going to talk about some weapons we don't want added, or I don't personally think should be added. But in this list, I've got some ones that I think they should add. The Retro Lantern is the first one. Some people don't like the Retro Lantern because it can knock so quickly from close range, but the the execution with it, where you charge and you like spear someone with the bayonet, is just iconic. I think the Retro Lantern definitely belongs in multiplayer. Like special grenades like the flashbang and the ink grenade, they could definitely add those. Maybe not the ink grenade, but the flashbang is definitely a good one if you want to push like someone who's in a tower or somebody who's camping a position. And the same with like the mortar. The mortar always like made the multiplayer battles feel more like a firefight. Now and again, you just get a mortar freaking hitting the ground. You'd have to bail. Again, also good for people who are like hunkered down behind cover and stuff like that. The mortar is really good. And it was also like a risk to fire it, right? You have to make sure you were firing it from the right position. Otherwise, you were just going to get mowed down and finished off there. And the flamethrower. The flamethrower was always fun, I think. And again, going back, touching on the executions we just discussed, you unlock all the executions with these weapons. So I think a bit more of a variety in weapons is a must. Having said that, you know, there are some weapons we don't want in, but again, we're going to talk about those in a moment. I think the fourth thing that they need to focus on is balancing the active reload. After weekend 1 of the Gears beta, the Gears Reloaded beta, it was apparent that the active reload needs a nerf. It's just too powerful. Like, you know, like if you go into a fight with the reload, it's such an advantage, and it should be a little bit of an advantage, especially if you're like fighting multiple people and you got to reload. If you nail it, you should be rewarded for it 100%. But I think it's a bit too powerful at the moment. Like, it's absolutely crazy. You laser people down if you hit the active reload. And I think it would discourage people like just emptying their mag and reloading it before a firefight more, and just add to the experience, make it that bit more immersive and bring a bit of balance to the multiplayer. And the fifth thing I wanted to add in is being able to crawl when you're down. Obviously in Gears 1, when you're down, you just get that bird's eye view of your character. You can't see around you, nothing like that. But in all the other Gears, I think you could crawl away into cover and things like that. And I think it should be added to multiplayer for sure. So that if you do get knocked, you can crawl back into cover if you're able to. Most of the time you get finished, but having the option to, I think would be absolutely key. So those are my 5 things that I think they should add and they should do for the game. Let's get into the list of things that I think they definitely shouldn't do for the greater good of the game. So, top of the don't list, because we already touched on weapons, we'll talk about the weapons we don't want added into the multiplayer, or I don't want to add it into the multiplayer. I went back to Gears of War 5 a couple of days ago, and it's just a bit much, isn't it, you know? So the weapons I'm talking about, right, are things like the sawn-off. The sawn-off shotgun was just a game-breaking thing in multiplayer back in the day. you would just have people running up to you, one pull of the trigger, you're done. And it was just, sometimes you couldn't do anything about it. And it was just a bit of a mess, you know, especially with the out of control wall bouncers and the crab walkers and things like that. It was always just a bit of a nightmare. So I really don't think the showing off shotgun. And sticking on the topic of shotguns, that big rapid fire shotgun from Gears of War 5, maybe leave that out as well. It was a bit crazy. I mean, it was only really effective from close range, but it was just a bit mental, wasn't it? You know, and the Lancer, like the Lancer GL, you know, like it was an absolute laser beam, and it fired rockets you could get out of cover, and it was just too much of a power weapon, in my opinion. You know, I think you should have power weapons on the map, but you should have to, you know, be good with it or use it well to, you know, to turn the tide in the fight, turn the tide in the firefight. The Lancer GL was just like, you know, aim the laser at the cover, fire it, and it just rained down rockets on people. It was just a bit ridiculous, you know. And I think one of the reasons why the Gears of War Reloaded beta has been so well received is because it's gone a bit back to the bare bones. It's gone back to simpler times, and I think that's key moving forward. Hit markers is the second thing I want to talk about. Gears is better without hit markers. Like I said, I recently went back to Gears 5 and it just feels wrong. That's all I've got to say on it. Just keep hit markers out of the game, in my opinion. I just don't think they belong in Gears. Don't spread the game modes too thin is the third thing on this list, okay? Gears 5, the amount of game modes back in the day, it was just too much, right? And people were spread too thinly, especially as like the player base started to drop a little bit. I'm hoping the player base doesn't drop, you know, with this whole revival movement with Gears. But I think we just keep it simple again. Take it back a little bit, strip it down a little bit. Stick to the game modes that everybody loves. We got our Team Deathmatch, our Warzone, our King of the Hill. You know, those game modes, those 3 game modes, you know. The Dodgeball game mode was good. Maybe add that in. That was good. The Dodgeball game mode was good. Let's not get too crazy in it. Let's not spread it too thinly. Let's keep the core game modes in, and then if, you know, the player base maintains, add some limited time ones in or whatever, but just be careful about spreading the game modes too thin. I think it's absolutely key. What's the next one? Okay, don't add too many pay to play options, yeah? It's a worry with every game that comes out nowadays. So if you're gonna add the option to buy stuff in the store, that's absolutely fine, but don't make it so we can't get them unless we buy them. Make it so we can earn them by grinding if we want, just like Helldivers 2 did. Helldivers 2 is very successful. They've maintained their player base. They're doing well. They've got it so that you can either buy them if you want, and that's entirely up to you. You want to buy stuff? That's fine. Spend your money how you want. But don't limit the players who don't want to spend the extra money after buying the game to like not be able to unlock that stuff. Let us be able to grind it and make it a bit of a grind. That's absolutely fine. But give us the option to be able to unlock that stuff. It's very important. Very important, I think, in nowadays. And the last thing I want to talk about was don't let the wall bouncing get out of control. Don't let the crazy movement get out of control. We need to keep a handle on this, because otherwise, like I said in one of my previous videos, it's going to end up 2,000 people playing the game, 100 of them dominating the online space, and no casual players, no new players, which is what we aim to do, which is what we need to do. We need the new players to come in, need to give them a chance to get better at the game, and then for the online community to just grow and thrive and stay relevant. I think if we let the wall bouncing and the crazy movement get out of control, there are people, I've got like 4 or 5 people friends who just won't play the game. They'll be like, this is awful, this is terrible. We need to make sure that doesn't get out of control. We need to keep a handle on it. It's okay in Gears of War Reloaded at the moment, but I have seen some clips and you're like, Jesus, this guy's just farming the new players and they're not going to come back. And they probably won't even come back for weekend 2 of the beta, let alone buy the game when it comes out. So we need to keep a handle on that. Moving forward, I think it's very important. So that's my 5 do's and 5 don'ts for Gears moving forward, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments about it, okay? Let me know your do's and don'ts, what you want added, what you don't want added, you definitely don't want to see in the game moving forward. And let me know what you think about the Gears of War Reloaded beta as well. Get in the comments, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.